Justin Gaethje does not deserve a title shot over Ilia Topuria. I don't know if you guys recently seen this, but I was calling for it, or I was predicting that it was going to happen, and people are going to say that supposedly Justin Gaethje deserves a title shot over Ilia Topuria, and in my opinion, that's a bunch of bogus. That's a bunch of baloney. What the fuck is old head Justin Gaethje going to do at like 36, 37 years old against Islam Makhachev? It doesn't make any sense when you think about it. It really doesn't. And we've seen Gaethje, like, why does Gaethje deserve a title shot after just being knocked out? But because he gets a win over Rafael Fiziev, it was not even a big deal. Rafael Fiziev is probably one of the most overrated 155ers. Like, he could have had a decent career. But man, how are you like 31 in your prime and you can't even beat like an older Gaethje? And I'm not saying Gaethje is a bad fighter. Squeaky table, my bad. Gaethje is a good fighter, but his resume is good too. But come on, he's old, man. And Gaethje does not deserve a title shot off of one win. Like, come on. You don't just get a title shot off of one win anymore, especially when you had two cracks at the title. Not to mention you had a crack at the interim belt. Dustin and Justin are sharing like the same career path. And in my opinion, that's like overrated fighters that are never champ material. I know it's like a bit of a hot take, but honestly, I always thought that Dustin Poirier is so fucking overrated. Like, I never thought he had the material to be champ, in all honesty. Like, I always thought his grappling was just not good enough to keep up and be champion. And it really means a lot, too, because it's the same sentiment with a Justin Gaethje. Gaethje actually has a wrestling background, but he claims that he's not going to wrestle, he's not going to grapple because his cardio can't hold up. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit, because I think if he was good enough, he could have been able to deny those takedowns from, like, Khabib to a certain degree, or he could have been good enough to deny the takedowns from Charles Oliveira, or not get submitted. Like, come on, they're just not good enough. Nobody wants to see Gaethje get submitted and choked out a third time over Topuria. And I know people are saying, oh, Topuria doesn't deserve it. He doesn't. He hasn't fought anyone at 155. He only defended the belt once. Shut the fuck up. You're not a real MMA fan if you say that. Who the fuck do you want to see? You want to see Islam Makhachev have another easy title win, another easy defense, just so he can, like, stack up his resume? Like, if you're a real MMA fan, you would know that Topuria is the hardest fight for Islam Makhachev right now. The only other contender that makes sense is Arman Tsarukyan, and Dana White doesn't want to give Arman Tsarukyan the chance because Tsarukyan pulled out literally the last day of the fight because he got his back blown out doing whatever bullshit he was. Like, come on. Listen, man. If you're a real MMA fan, you want to see Topuria versus Makhachev. You don't want to see Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev, especially when you consider the fact that Islam wants to move up. He wants to move up to 170. He's defended the belt 4 times now. If he defends it the 5th time, I don't think he's sticking around one more time. Make it 6 defense? He could maybe. There's a possibility that he could, especially if Belal wins against JDM. And apparently the next runner-up and guaranteed title defense for Belal, if he does end up winning, is Shavkat. Like, the winner of JDM versus Belal is going to be fighting Shavkat, so there's a chance that we could see Islam maybe do 2 more defenses, but I don't think that's likely. I think what's going to happen is JDM is going to win the belt. Shavkat still isn't going to fight because Shavkat fights like once a year. And then what we're going to happen is Islam's going to move up and fight like probably JDM, because I think JDM beats Belal. I just think Belal is a little bit too old. He had like a bone injury, a bone infection in his toe, his right toe or some shit like that. And he's getting old. I know he's like 36, but here's the thing. You have to remember the 35 and over curse. And I know for like welterweight, technically it doesn't apply. It applies most of the time, but you're not completely immune to it at welterweight. And Belal was one of those examples. But I just think that coming off an injury, getting up there older in age, I just don't think he's going to win. And I think if JDM does become champion, what we're going to have is Islam Makhachev versus JDM. And I actually think Islam Makhachev is going to beat JDM if that happens. So I just think that we need to make one good title defense at 155 for Islam Makhachev, because I really do think he's probably going to move up after just one more defense. Personally, I would love if he'd stay for 2 more, and that's Arman and Topuria, because those are the 2 fights that make the most sense. People are still going to be asking questions about the Arman rematch like years later. Like, how would you fare against Arman now? And if you ask me, the more I think about it, the more I think maybe Arman actually loses that fight. Like a month ago or 2 months ago, whenever Islam was stated to fight against what was it again? Arman, I think that was like 2 months ago. What day are we right now? The 17th? I think the first pay-per-view of the year was like January 18 or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, it's been like 2 months, and I was actually predicting Arman to actually win that fight. But now that I think about it, I think Islam actually going to have a better and better chance at winning. And I just think the only fight that's actually really 50-50 is Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. So why are people crying, saying pick Gaethje or Topuria doesn't deserve it? How many title shots have happened from people that haven't deserved it? So why are we saying this now when it's the most important fight you can make in the UFC? There's no other fight you can make that's more important than this or better. And if you say, oh, Armin deserves it off of merit, yeah, well, good fucking luck. He just pulled out of his fight, what literally Islam Makhachev one day out because he got a stupid back injury. You're not going to be trustworthy after that. You caused the company a tons of issue. If Moicano wasn't on the card and if Beneil Dariush wasn't in the card, that would have been a scrap main event. Okay? So I understand why Armin doesn't deserve the title shot, and I agree with the UFC. You know, if you fuck up that hard, you shouldn't book it again. The only fight that makes sense is Topuria. And I don't want to see Charles Oliveira say, oh, he deserves the title shot. Or Oliveira deserves the title shot. No, man. Oliveira, listen, he beat Michael Chandler, and I love Chandler, but the fact is you don't really deserve a title shot after just beating Michael Chandler, especially since it's just a fight that I don't see. I could see Islam beating Oliveira like 9 times out of 10, in all honesty. I just don't see Oliveira actually having the skill set to beat Islam Makhachev. I just don't think he does. I think Makhachev is a nightmare matchup for Oliveira. I don't want to see that fight. It does nothing for me. It's not exciting. It's another rematch, and people are saying, oh, Gaethje deserves it. You know, Gaethje deserves it. No, he fucking doesn't. All right? We know Gaethje is a free title defense for Islam Makhachev. I guarantee you. If you put a poll that said, who do you think is going to win, Islam Makhachev versus Justin Gaethje, 90% of people would say Islam Makhachev. All right? Maybe 95. The only people that would click Gaethje is because they have like a feeling like, oh, I just got this feeling Gaethje's going to knock out like Islam Makhachev. Like, I just got this feeling he's going to land that right hook or that overhand right. Like, shut the fuck up, man. He's not going to land shit. He's not going to land one of those calf kicks, or he's not going to land like an overhand right or a right or left hook, whatever the fuck Justin's signature punch is. I think his signature punch actually is like a right uppercut, like a rear uppercut from Orthodox. I might be wrong, but I just don't think it's enough. I think it's a free title defense for Islam, and Gaethje doesn't deserve it. We've seen enough Gaethje title shots. I know Gaethje's just not that good enough. Gaethje's not champ material, never was champ material in my opinion, and I just don't think he can put it together. Topuria, on the other hand, was champion, and you know the people he beat? He beat Alexander Volkanovski, greatest featherweight of all time. Knocked him out, finished him. He beat Max Holloway, second or third greatest featherweight of all time. You can make the argument for second, you know. You can maybe even put Aldo at third. Personally, I have Aldo as second greatest featherweight of all time just because of like the amount of title defense he's had. But that's crazy. You knocked out 2 of the top 3 featherweights of all time. All right? I don't think people understand how crazy that is. If Topuria actually goes up and beats Islam Makhachev, that is the greatest free fight winning streak of all time. There's no beating that. Okay? That is the best free fight win streak of all time. And it's going to be years from now until someone can beat that, if he actually does end up winning against Islam Makhachev. I guess what I'm trying to say is UFC needs to stop fucking around. We need to stop, like, honey dick in the pot, as some people would say. And, you know, Topuria has all the tools, man. He has the grappling. He started out with a BJJ base and a wrestling base. He didn't actually start out with boxing. The fact that he developed his boxing to be so good that he can knock out 2 of the greatest featherweights of all time is crazy to me. And he has the power to make up for it. He is the hardest hitter at 145. And if he moves up to 155, I guarantee you he's probably the hardest hitter at 155 or the second hardest hitter. I really do think so, that he hits harder than the majority of 155ers. This guy has knockout power like crazy. And the Max Holloway knockout was proof of that. The Volkanovski fight was proof of that too. I mean, he knocked out Volkanovski cold with a right hook. That right hook, I guarantee if it landed on Islam Makhachev, he's going out. Or even better yet, the left hook that landed on Max Holloway. Yeah, if he landed that left hook on Islam Makhachev, I guarantee you Makhachev would be knocked out cold. I guess what I want to say is, stop messing around, UFC. We don't want Justin Gaethje. That's a free title defense for Islam Makhachev. It does nothing for him. It just set pat his record. We don't want to see Armin Tsarukyan too. We do want to see it, but after what Tsarukyan pulled out, after his bullshit pulling out of the last fight, we don't want to see it. I don't want to see the Oliveira rematch. What makes sense right now the most is just Topuria versus Makhachev, all right? Nothing else makes sense from a competitive standpoint of view. And here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, oh, it doesn't make sense for Islam because it's another 145er, and it's just people are just going to make fun of him saying, ha, like, you had like a war with a 155er, or like you got beat by a 155er. Topuria actually does win. And I think that's a little bullshit, especially when you consider that the majority of the division used to be 145ers, all right? Oliveira used to be a 145er. Max Holloway moved up to 155. He used to be a 145er. Who else I can think of? Dustin Poirier used to be a 145er. Like, there's a lot of fighters that used to be 145ers, man. Conor was double champ. He used to be originally a 145er. Moicano was originally a 145er. Like, Patty Pimblett was originally a 145er, man. Like, stop with the bullshit that, like, if you beat a smaller guy, it's not as noteworthy. That's bullshit. Some of the best lightweights of all time are originally 145ers. You got Oliveira, you got Dustin. Like, those are two really good examples right there. The whole, oh, he's just a featherweight, he's a 145er, it adds nothing to my legacy. It's just a bullshit excuse from Islam Makhachev. All right? And he has that little quote saying, I'll fight anyone anytime at, like, the UFC Apex. Yeah, well, if you don't want to fight Ilia Topuria, who's the nightmare matchup for you, well, actually, both of you guys are nightmare matchups for each other, in my opinion, then I think you should take that little, like, sentence, that little quote off the Apex, in my opinion, because it just shows you're not really about fighting all that. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Just wanted to rant a little bit and talk about what I think should happen, because I just think the UFC can't let this fight get fumbled. If it gets fumbled, this is going to be one of the greatest missed opportunities of all time, and this is like GOAT status on the line. Like, I know it's not GOAT status for Ilia Topuria, but you can add him to, like, the top 7 with just those 3 wins alone. Double champ, plus you knocked out the greatest featherweight of all time, greatest lightweight of all time, and the second or third greatest featherweight of all time. Craziest free fight win streak, in my opinion, and that easily makes you, like, top 8, top 7, in my opinion. Anyways, like I said, that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.